Stugotz, have you seen the Edmonton Oilers power play statistics?
Have I seen what?
The Edmonton Oilers power play statistics.
Why would I have seen that?
I'm gambling again.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they're unstoppable. Unstoppable.
Okay, slow down, Mike. You've come.
I love a good power play.
Mike,
I do.
You've come in hot from LA. I don't know what you're snorting out there, entertainment wise, but you just got a taste. Everyone told us not to build this in Miami. It couldn't work. Had to be in New York. Had to be in LA. You can't get good help in Miami. Nobody lives in Miami that would do any of this. And we are in Miami, and now we've got offices in New York, and Mike Ryan's coming back from L.A. because he's interested in global conquer. He wants to be a movie producer. Why are you looking at me like that, Billy?
Well, to conquer the globe, we have to leave the country.
Yeah.
We just keep expanding the country. We're not really going to
Go up to Canada.
be myopic.
And that's not really my goal. My goal is more like do cocaine with Mickey Rourke, but sure, whatever.
You can do that here.
Seems like you did.
You could do that here.
He is from Miami.
We've all done it here.
The story that I wanted to get to, Stugotz, because it might not be something that anyone cares about because sports is all entertainment and a lot of people don't want moralities around sports. Just play the games, entertain me. They're just games. They're not societal reflections. Would you please just enjoy yourselves and get out of the political playpen? And stop Le Batard with, the dangers of white men with power not using it correctly. White men with power never facing consequences. White men with power, Daniel Snyder can run everything into the ground, and it's $6 billion. Vince McMahon. Now, I don't do a lot of, Stugotz, the judging of public figures. I try to abstain from just the eviscerating of human character.
Same.
Vince McMahon, truly horrible. And I've been entertained by wrestling, and I grew up watching him when he was just a sideline guy, like a reporter. He was Mean Gene Okerlund. Like, I've seen his 40 years dominating the sport from like The Voice to now he's back in power. He's running WrestleMania. Mike's coming back from WrestleMania. And Vince McMahon is back in power. And maybe you don't care. Maybe you think it's a small thing, but now you know why Endeavor didn't comment on Dana White. Now you know. They couldn't have two of them in a cage while the deal was being done because the deal wasn't done yesterday. They couldn't jeopardize the WWE deal, the $9 billion deal that now goes totally dirty, run by two kings who have no consequences for anything, McMahon and Dana White. And I'm sure it'll be a profitable, great business in streaming. Like, how could it not be? But what's running both organizations and the labor being ground into the fighters using their actual body, just thrown into the mill here so they can make their money, so the two awful ones without consequences can make their money. Maybe it doesn't bother you. Maybe you just want it to be fake sports, wrestling, and mixed martial arts. I'll enjoy the fights in Miami on Saturday. Like, I can make moral grandstands. I could raise my fist and be infuriated, but I'll be a hypocrite. Like, I'll be a hypocrite on what I'm watching, where the party is.
You're not alone. Most people just want to be entertained. They don't care how they get their entertainment, who's providing the entertainment. They want to be entertained.
But just know what's happening at the top of that company. Just don't let it happen quietly. What's happening at the top of that company and what the men at the top of that company are accused of doing and how they cash in anyway because there are no consequences for them, whether it's rape allegations or video of you hitting your wife in public.
So Vince McMahon comes into power, returns back into power a few weeks ago, really, because his daughter and Nick Khan were co-CEOs. The news comes back that he's going to reassume his position as chairman of the board because he has the most stakes in the company. And you can't approve a sale without the approval of someone with the most shares in the company. So he really Logan Roy'd this one. It's Succession.
Amazing dirty power. Like, what a dirty power play back to power in a mustache.
Here's the mustache is wild.
It's Vance McMahon. He's come back as a wrestling.
Vicente.
I know.
And hair dye. He dyed his hair.
He did?
Yes. That hair is dark.
He did?
Mike,
Yes.
he's in disguise.
What?
He's wearing a disguise.
You're saying that's hair dye? So
soy sauce.
with Dana White, you heard Dana White, and I think many people realize that cancel culture is only real if you're governed by some shame. If the person that's guilty of all these things that are worthy of being, air quotes, canceled, they're governed by shame, like Al Franken was, or how even Vince McMahon was at the start of all this during the New York Times reporting, there are some punitive measures. But if you just persist in the face of it, you're pretty Teflon. And Dana White sat there and explained, suspending me would only punish the UFC because I am the only one capable of running this. Vince McMahon may have had the same pitch to Endeavor. But here's the thing. They were actually doing great without Vince McMahon. The business, every quantifiable metric that you would do to boost your market value, the creative, the television ratings were bouncing back with Vince McMahon out of creative, and morale was up. Wrestlers that had left that company wanted to come back because Triple H was there, because they were all beaten into the ground by the bad morale that surrounded Vince McMahon. And yesterday, Vince McMahon running the full show again, running in gorilla position, which is where basically the director of everything is running, and morale low again, by all reports from people that cover the sport.
True fact, as a lifelong wrestling fan, that I'm embarrassed to admit to you, that I thought legitimately plausible and confused me at the beginning when I read the phrase gorilla position and did not know that in wrestling there is someone who stands at the center of the spectacle and entertainment known as the gorilla. I thought Vince McMahon went yesterday in a gorilla costume.
Jesus Christ.
So that they wouldn't know that he was there.
It's actually named after Gorilla Monsoon, who would be positioned there during television broadcasts, because even though he was owning the WWE at the time, Vince McMahon was also the voice of the WWE, so you needed someone to actually run the broadcast from backstage, and Gorilla Monsoon would do that. And now if you're running a show, you're running it from Gorilla. But Wait,
what are you laughing about?
Well,
Cody?
I much prefer the image of Vince McMahon
It's great.
showing up in a gorilla suit. Why? Because he doesn't want to be noticed.
Or because he's not allowed to be there, because he's been banned
Right.
from the facility because
That's
they
what the
don't want him
mustache
near
is
the
for.
power or the morale.
It's just funny because the general vibe, and WrestleMania was a great atmosphere, and you actually kind of feel better about supporting the product if Vince McMahon isn't this major cult of personality that is driving everything. There was a lot of positive momentum around Triple H's creative and the product kind of turning around and getting away from some of the Vinceisms that have plagued the industry a little bit. And it seems as though no one really wants this except for Vince McMahon and Endeavor. They want Vince McMahon to be in that position, to be running things. They also want Nick Khan to be killing it. He's absolutely killing it. Honestly, if Roger Goodell decides to leave the NFL, I would hire Nick Khan to be the commissioner of the NFL. It seems as though everything Nick Khan touches turns to gold. And he's saying to make a ton of money from this deal because he had a bunch of equity in there. And I was wondering, all right, that was kind of the mission accomplished. What does Nick Khan do now? No, he's just going to accrue more power.
Well, Mike, Nick Khan, for those who do not know, I think this was happening with Skipper at ESPN. All of Nick Khan's people in the agent business, all of them were running ESPN. They were. It felt to people like Nick Khan at ESPN was the one putting people into all of the positions.
Well, he worked at CAA. You're saying that agency kind of felt like it was running ESPN.
But Nick Khan in particular was such a dominant figure. If you were looking at some of the highest paid talents in ESPN's employ, were Nick Khan clients.
This is so I think this was happening in or around Skipper's tenure, and Skipper speaks highly of Nick Khan. But so you've got this shark with McMahon. And Endeavor is run by Mark Shapiro, the former ESPN president, I think. Is it?
But he's going to be put as president of this, but it was really kind of sad. They made Triple H do this whole spiel. We're not going anywhere. It's going to be the same WWE. And that would have been a great rah-rah speech if it were actually coming from Triple H and not written down for him by the new head of creative and Vince McMahon again. So it's an interesting time for WWE. There's a lot of transition. They're trying to project that it's going to be the same. But the same to them is what it was when Vince was still in power and not what it had become, which was a fun, exciting thing that started putting distance between them and the competition. And it was a really exciting time for pro wrestling fans because it was this breath of fresh air. And now it's Vince McMahon again, and you're left with all the bad feelings that go associated with it.
Tony, why are you and Billy and Jeremy making
I'm excited, Dan.
making
The astronauts,
faces?
the astronauts in the Zoom. I want to talk to him.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of things
we
to talk
got-
about
all
the
right.
astronaut.
Okay, you guys have wrestling opinions, though. I see them. You have. We'll get to your wrestling opinions in a second. Yeah, but an astronaut is waiting for us. Let's get to him. It is nice to see you. You were at the game last night, they told us.
Yes, it was awesome. Wow, that stadium was packed. The energy, all those college students, it was great.
You could see up close how shitty San Diego State looked?
Oh, man. You know what, though? Everybody played hard. And, man, I was standing next to the court like, if one of them dudes ran into me full speed, it would be a bad day, man, for the knees and the back. So I was, I knew I couldn't get up there and hang with any of them. So it was great to watch him play.
So you're closer to the court than you're going to be to the moon then, huh?
Oh, by a long shot, man. That is actually a really important part of this mission to understand. We aren't landing on the moon. We aren't even going to orbit. We're not going to stop and get into a low orbit. We're going to pass the moon, and our closest point will be between 6,000 and 8,000 miles. That's the diameter of the Earth. Now, we'll still be close to the moon, right, compared to the 240,000 miles we start off at. But it'll be awesome to see the moon in the foreground and the Earth out way beyond it.
Your occupation is fascinating. You've got to get out of here because you're very busy. Only 24 people have ever done this, gone around.
He's headed to the moon.
Yes,
Dan.
gone. It hasn't happened
around the moon. I'd be more impressed if he was landing on the moon, but still impressed.
That's
okay?
fine.
Yeah.
Victor, are you infuriated?
Agree with you.
Okay, I was going to say,
Victor.
are you furious that you get this mission instead of the one that allows you to walk on the actual moon?
No way. This is awesome. Like you said, 24 human beings in all of human history. And so we're going to increase that number. But man, this is a special time and this mission is special. And I'm a part of a team, and to get the team to that next stage where we're going to land people or dock to a space station, a gateway around the moon, it is a privilege just to be carrying the baton for this part.
What are you guys laughing about back there?
No, it's like when you say something special, like my mom says I'm special too, but it's like, there's other things that are more important.
There's always things more important. That's true. Yes. But we're going to the moon.
Yeah, there's no.
Close to the moon.
You
pretty badass.
Can you explain?
That's kind of singular.
Yes, it is. What is the question you most often get? People are curious about that. Your lifestyle. I have a variety of questions, but what's the one you get most often?
Oh wow. Honestly, the question I get most often, which is a little surprising, is the Earth really round?
Wow.
I mean, I get asked that so much, or maybe that's just the one that stands out the most to me. But people ask me like serious. They pull me aside, like, okay, I saw you just give your talk. I saw the videos, like when you filmed an entire orbit and did a time lapse. Yeah, but like, come on, tell me for real, is the Earth really round?
Victor,
so it's surprising.
How is that? How is that possible? It would have been
Look,
so good, Victor. I wish you'd
recorded
said no. I
a
wish
very
you'd
high
said no.
definition orbit around the Earth, and so orbit's not possible if it's not round. But listen, look, to be a little more specific, it's an ellipsoid. If you took a tomato and looked at that, it's not perfectly round. It's kind of flat on the top and the bottom. It is that shape. It is, but it is round. Orbit wouldn't be possible without it being spherical.
I can't believe your job is fascinating. That's the most common question. I thought it'd be in the realm of what's the most scared you have been in thinking about some of this stuff that you do for a living that many of us find scary. It takes a certain type to do this.
I do get asked that question quite a bit, and I would say, listen, I'm sure you have work with folks who the thought of speaking to hundreds of people all around the country is scary. And so your job is scary to some people. I love to watching those young men play last night. One of those teams was going to win and one was going to lose. I always appreciate the courage, the heart it takes to get up in front of a stage, a group of people, and do anything. And so I appreciate courage in all its forms. And so, yes, this is a physically demanding thing, and riding a rocket is a challenging thing, but we study it and we train. And we do so many simulations that helps you to kind of emotionally prepare for it, but you also understand what you can and can't do. And at some point you get to a stage where worrying and being afraid would only make you less capable in the moment. And so we train. That movie, The Right Stuff, wasn't about ego. It's not about ego. This is not a machismo thing. We work hard. We bust our ass to be ready to do the job that we do.
Victor, you're going to be the first black astronaut to go on a lunar mission. Why don't you go over some of the history of African Americans going into space?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, listen, I got to start with my friend, mentor, and icon Ed Dwight, who back in the Kennedy administration was asked to become the first astronaut candidate. And because of a lot of things that we'll summarize as just racism, was not allowed into the program and didn't make it into that class. That was 20 years before the first black astronaut was flying space. That's, again, another friend and mentor, Guy Bluford, who flew as a part of the shuttle program. Right after Sally Ride, the first woman, he got to watch her navigate those challenging situations. And then he was the first black man to fly in space. But actually, between the two, between Ed Dwight and Guy Bluford, we had another man named Robert Lawrence, Major Robert Lawrence, who was training for the Air Force's space program, the Manned Orbiting Laboratory, the MOLE program, and he died in an airplane accident. And so there's been a really interesting history, and I believe I come along as the 21st African-American selected for the NASA astronaut program. You had a Cuban American, a black Cuban, fly with the Russians. Actually, back then they were the Soviet Union. And Cuba had an astronaut fly. And so it's been an interesting history. And I tell you what, my favorite thing about it is people like to talk about the first, man, but the seconds, thirds, and it becoming normal is what I'm about. So hopefully I'm a force to get this on the point, to the point where young black kids grow up thinking, man, I can hoop. I can be a football player like Emmitt Smith, my fraternity brother, but I can also be an astronaut or a doctor like Victor Glover or his daughter wants to be. And so I love it that we're changing the game. We're broadening the game.
That's unfair to do
Deserved
that.
it, Emmitt Smith. He was fine until Emmitt.
Victor, can you please tell us
no need to throw
what
that
is something to a layman that a layman wouldn't understand about how hard, when you say it's physically taxing, explain it to us in ways that we can understand.
Oh, big time. First of all, Emmitt Smith is a great. I don't know why that was debatable. Okay, one of the greats. He's a classy man.
They were making fun of you. You don't get the show. No, they're making fun of you for name dropping. They're making fun of you for name dropping Emmitt Smith.
Okay. All right. So this job, physically demanding part of this job is spacewalking. You know, we're not going to spacewalk on this mission. Artemis II won't have any spacewalks, but spacewalking is challenging, and we still train for it. I'm an instructor, so I will still do spacewalking training. And it's the equivalent. We call it spacewalks. We really should say space crawl, because you don't use your feet as much. You move around with your hands, but then you also have to do the work with your hands. So when you get where you're going, you put the clips down and you get your drill and you do the work to repair or install whatever you're doing. And those spacewalks, you see us outside when you watch NASA TV, like I know you all do. We're outside for 7 hours plus or minus. But we get in the suit hours before and we're in about an hour afterwards. So you're inside that enclosed volume for 10 to 11 hours. And all you have is 32 ounces of water. And it is a very physically demanding suit. Even though you're weightless in space, there is momentum. So when you start moving, you have to use the strength of your grip and your muscles to stop yourself from moving. And that suit can, with your body, and it can weigh upwards of 1,000 pounds. So it is physically demanding. Even though there's no weight in space, when things are moving, it still requires some force to stop them or change direction.
A million questions, and you've got to get out of here so quickly. Greg's got one, and Stugotz has got one.
I'm curious, do you ever wear the full, bulky spacesuit out in public just for laughs?
You know, I have to check it out from some people, and if it was easy to get it, I would. Totally. No, but I would.
You would. Of course you would. Who wouldn't?
Do you ever get tired of drinking Tang?
No, because we don't drink Tang. I think the last time I had Tang is when I was a kid. When I was a kid. I know, like, I'm sorry to just, like, shatter that, but we don't eat freeze-dried ice cream or drink Tang. Okay. But I love Tang. I would love to have some.
Can you call us from the moon tomorrow? Like, how does this work?
Are you not in space now? Are you just you're just in a studio? Can you change your Zoom background?
Oh, that's just a background? I thought he was in space.
You were joining us from space.
I was going to say the Earth is round.
It'll be a little bit longer than tomorrow, but I'll try to call you.
All right, please.
Yes,
that'd be great.
Yes,
that'd be great. Please do. We'll talk to you then. Thank you, sir.
All right. Hey, great talking to you guys. Have a great day.
You need our number? Or?
We've got it.
Okay, good.
Say hi to Emmett.
Greg Cote has a back in my day, and he's told a variety of people he's a little nervous about it because it's controversial. He is evolving his back in my day. The back in my day, I won't say it's grown stale. I will just say that he's having trouble coming up with new ideas because he feels like he's done just about everything there is to be done in the name of opinion making, that there's nothing else to write about and talk about. And now that it's sponsored, he wants more money. So he thinks he needs to do more controversial things to push the envelope a little bit, to grow it as, someone who's trying to keep his career lively in the podcast game, a columnist dinosaur trying to stay evolved.
Well, it's not sponsored anymore, which is weird because the last time it was sponsored, you took a shot at subscription services and rebates when the sponsor had one of those. So it's weird that they went away.
I found that out afterward. That was regrettable.
Well, he's too hot to handle. Is the larger point is that
Greg's not for sale. You know what I mean? Greg's
Thank
gonna
you,
say
Billy.
what he says.
Is that right?
Sponsors
Integrity.
be damned. Exactly right. Integrity.
What about
Fair
this
and
weekend?
balanced. Greg Cote.
Did Billy Corbin cost us Bacardi because he came in here one
Probably.
weekend and talking about things that Bacardi was doing in the neighborhood? Did he cost us that sponsorship?
Probably.
And you don't have to say everything that comes to your mind.
So Greg Cote's back in my day is something that we will get to in a second. But I want to, because Vince McMahon, he really did, as Vance McMahon. He came back as a wrestling character with a ridiculous mustache, a pencil-thin mustache. He did trick us. He tricks us. It's like, that's not a rapist, that's a fool. And he just looks so ridiculous. The mustache is too close to the lip, not close enough to the nose.
He looks like Vicente. He looks like somebody on Spanish TV that would be giving me the news.
Yeah,
And I
he
would trust, though.
We got a couple good looks like on Twitter. One of them is Vince McMahon looks like he's about to ask me for photos of Spider-Man.
I thought Vince McMahon looks like the evil manager of a haunted hotel in an early 2000s comedy. Was great.
Yeah, that's good. Vince McMahon looks like his men are hunting Zorro as we speak.
You have him as Vincent Price, is what?
Well,
Yeah.
Vince McMahon looks like John Waters having an allergic reaction.
That's good.
Vince McMahon looks like he's going to swindle your entire town on his magical miracle tonic that cures any ailment. Vince McMahon looks like he's about to say "M'scusi."
he also says, in keeping with what Tony was doing there, he looks like he's dressed up as Vicente Fox for Halloween and really angry no one gets it.
I saw a
I got
couple,
it.
like the internet's having a bunch of fun. I saw someone put like Bison's costume on him from Street Fighter, which made me laugh a lot. And someone put him on top of like a salsa.
It's a funny photo. He looks ridiculous. And again, it's the way it's one of the dirty tricks that the man can do in wrestling and entertainment. I can be truly awful as a human being, but look at my mustache. You're not even going to talk about the bad stuff I do because look at my pencil thin mustache. Look how easy it is for me to trick you guys about not having any morals and being someone who's compromised in every way and creates a terrible workplace. Let me just, that's out of makeup. That's how I would draw that on his lip if I was trying to distract people from the fact that he's 80 and still running this dirty game. It's unbelievable, Stugotz. It is. It's a great trick.
I love the idea of him going into the mirror and having like the full mustache and being like, nah, they'll see right past this. Hold on, give me the razor.
Yep.
Putting it out in the mirror and it's like, this is it. Masterpiece.
And meanwhile, Mike is in the middle of the spectacle watching the Final Four games on his phone because he can't get close enough to the action because of how much his father made him love wrestling.
What? That was a lot. No, I wanted to be in Houston, and it seemed like I was jealous. Greg and Chris went out there for the FAU.
Yeah, we did. Sponsored by Sheets and Giggles.
I
Thank
thought you were for
F&G.
sale.
No, I'm not, except when it involves the Final Four. But the Greg Cote Show podcast is from Houston this week. Mike, if you would have ever told me that you would have missed UM in a Final Four, I would not have believed it. Never have believed it.
So I was really trying to make it work, and the best option was for me to fly at 6 o'clock in the morning to drive to Anaheim and take my chances on a Spirit flight for about $1,000.
Dangerous
And,
game.
like, it was just so I worked myself into thinking, yeah, I would love to be there around this atmosphere right now. I don't know how many times we'll ever get to this point. It never happened before, but I realized that if I went and I put my body through hell and I spent all sorts of money to get myself over there and they lost, I'd feel like a world-class idiot. And so I told myself, if they win, yeah, I wish I'd be there for that, but I'll just see you on Monday. And that was my plan going into it. And after they lost, I was like, well, at least I get to drown my sorrows in LA as opposed to Houston.
Greg, put us there, if you don't mind, as one of the probably the most famous alum from FAU, right behind Carrot Top, I would think. You, Chris Cote, and Carrot Top. But you were there, buzzer beater. They lost. Put us there. Like, what were you thinking? How were you feeling?
Yeah, I was
drunk.
Wait a minute. Are you interviewing Greg Cote?
No, I
Put us
appreciate
there,
that.
Like,
Thank you.
I know. I'd like to know the experience.
Cody,
I've
you're
never been to a Final Four. I would like to know.
I had never been to a Final Four either as a journalist. This time I mostly went as a fan. So we're trying to get into the stadium, and I'm doing my chant and hoping that everybody plays along with me. They say who? We say hoot. And I said that like 3 or 4 times.
Nobody did it with you. You were by yourself.
Nobody was doing it with me.
It's very vulnerable.
That was a little sad. Yeah, it was shocking to me that nobody would play along with me. But the game itself, it's all where you're sitting. I was sitting right in front of 2 San Diego State fans who were like obnoxious. I mean, they were the worst. So, we thought the whole game we were winning. Yeah, I can say we because I'm an owl, foul owl on the prowl. Although when I went there, I'm so old, didn't have basketball yet. No program there. Didn't even have it. But
You mean the sport?
Yeah.
The sport.
Right, that's right. Naismith hadn't done his thing yet. But it was a great experience because it's the only event I've ever been to where it's 4 fandoms all at once. All kind of different. I posed next to an owl. A guy in an owl head. Christopher told me later the guy had a little bit of a Woody, which I didn't notice, but it was, that was a little disconcerting to be photographed next to him. But, at any rate, let's not elaborate on that. The photo's somewhere. I think Christopher posted
hold on.
Get that photo.
Hold on.
That's why I asked these questions.
Yeah, thank
Go
you.
to your noti next week.
Yeah, thank you, Stugotz. Thank you.
Hold on. Excellent interview question by Stugotz that I mocked because he asked Greg Cote, put us there as your heart is broken, as if he was on defense.
I haven't heard it called a Woody in quite some time.
Wait a minute, Mike. I need you to allow me the moment. You have come in here very hot, and I need you
It's the cocaine.
to settle down. There are some wrestling takes. There are some wrestling takes in the back row that I need to get to. But the detour that we just took, Greg Cote was next to a owl, and in that photo, you decided to tell all of us that the owl seemed to be aroused, and it made me think about something that Tony's been talking about, which is that adults in costumes at parties or at festive things make him sad. They have the opposite reaction that you want to have about mascots.
Incredibly sad when you're looking at, I was at my nephew's birthday party and it was a Ninja Turtles birthday party, and then all of a sudden halfway through the party a Ninja Turtle comes in, but it's kind of like a guy who was smoking cigarettes out before puts on the helmet.
He smells like cigarettes.
He smells like cigarettes. He can't talk because he's a mascot or whatever you call those things. And it's like he's just sitting there like doing robotic moves, and it's just such a sad thing. Like the sleeve's a little down so I can see his skin when he's got a glove on. I'm like, this is what are we doing here,
so
guys?
Wait, you're saying
he's scratching out a living. I mean,
yeah, side game. Come on.
Put it on the poll. Should the clown scratching out a living at the kids' party be smoking a cigarette? Because
They're always smoking a cigarette.
I am willing for America to take that freedom away from clowns and people and adults in costumes. You need to keep up the illusion for the kids, sir. Clowns don't smoke cigarettes. Neither does Barney. Barney doesn't. No.
And those actors spent 4 years and $120,000 on a BFA in college.
There's that too.
Did the turtle have a scotch in his hand?
No, I think he had a beer before, though. I could smell that, too.
Nothing wrong with that.
So what happened with the owl and the last minute and the last moments of this game? Because you were probably invested. Look, man, Greg Cote's been covering sports for a long time. Stugotz doesn't know the shortstop for the Mets. The sports fandom dies a little bit when you get older. Greg Cote, did you feel like a fan? Did FAU take you on a Boca ride? Were you a proud sports alum for the first time in your life about anything FAU? And then did you get your heart broken at the end because you legitimately wanted to see them get dragged and slaughtered by UConn last night?
Well, listen, the UConn game was later, so we didn't know then that Miami was destined to lose. And FAU was winning the whole game. I thought FAU was going to win that game, and I'm thinking, you know what? wow, maybe the Canes have a shot. It's actually an FAU-UM championship game. That would be unheard of. It would thrill us. It would probably bore the rest of the country, but who cares? It might actually happen. And then San Diego State makes that comeback, and the fans behind me are just yapping. And it's, I'm wearing my Owls T-shirt. I never do that. I have never in my life worn an FAU T-shirt until Saturday night.
You visited sports fandom.
Yes, I did. Which was a whole mind blower to me. I can't believe how much those souvenirs cost, by the way. I bought a coffee cup for my wife to bring back because she hasn't worn a T-shirt since 1978. So I present her with a coffee cup, and she's like, why? I have so many coffee cups. It was a nice gesture. I had to bring her something.
Say thank you.
I've never been to a Final Four, but there's really nothing like it in sports because you have most championship games, they have two fan bases coming together and a lot of corporate interest. This has a lot of corporate interest. But there's something about the semifinal that's even bigger than the final because the week of hype and the media machine surrounds that one double header.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a really cool spectacle. I'm envious that I didn't get to go because it just didn't work out.
It was totally great. And if I had to guess, I would say the four fandoms were about equal. You couldn't pick out one where, wow, I haven't seen many UConn fans, or look at all the, I think it was about equal. And for the most part.
Even FAU, huh?
Even FAU.
Wow.
Yeah, we had so many, we flew out of Fort Lauderdale, granted, but we had so many foul owls on the prowl on our plane that it was unbelievable.
I do feel like there's something here that's not being covered, right? Because Mike is now playing an elaborate armored defense against people being able to get into his vulnerable feelings about his program. He was going to be in LA watching WrestleMania and not enjoying this because this would have been very unpleasant to feel once the internet jumped on his neck as Kane Homer guy. But it's fairly shocking for an adult UM fan to be at WrestleMania. All the shit you've talked this season.
You could have just stopped at adults.
As one of UM's biggest supporters.
Yeah, no, I've done a lot, and social media was actually kind of kind to me because it was a great season. Actually, kind of an oddity. The men's and women's programs, the last 2 consecutive years, have lost to the eventual champion.
Mm-hmm.
So they've run into really good teams. Miami played LSU better than anyone probably did outside of Utah in that tournament. And UConn was just a dominant force in this tournament. But I'm very proud of the season. And like I said, it's a weird thing about college basketball that getting to the Final Four is almost a bigger deal than making it to the final. Now, if you win it, that lives forever. But I love how the semifinals are the attraction in that sport.
I could not agree more. I think there's such a gulf.
Deflected yet again.
There's such a gulf between the Elite Eight and the Final Four. When you make the Final Four, all of a sudden more than bracket heads are watching.
Do not allow
everybody's watching.
Greg, do not allow him to do this. This is what he's doing. He'll just throw it to another part of the room, and you're the easy mark here.
Well, let me tell you something.
No,
let me tell you what I was about to say to Mike, which I've heard this on the street. In the Golden Cane community, you are now ostracized. Is that right?
Whoa.
Wow. No.
Well, I believe that's true. That's not what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It's on the grapevine. It's on the Coconut Telegraph that the other Golden Canes, the other GCs, are looking down on you big time.
And
you know it.
No! You don't hit me with an and you know it.
And you know
you
it.
don't hit me with an and you know it.
And you know it.
That's a little vulnerable.
Why does his voice change?
No, it's a great it's a great argument ender. He comes in aggressively with the and you know it. Several of them rat-a-tat-tat. You can't argue with it. He's got you cornered.
I guess he's right. I can't fight back with the and you know it.
But please quit deflecting.
Right. What do you want to know? I was very sad.
You were at WrestleMania. That's what we want to know.
No,
Why?
this is the general question, and I mean this, and I've listened to the show for a long time, and I understand your deference to wrestling
Obsession,
and Dan's history with wrestling. My general question is, who gives a flying fuck about wrestling?
Wow.
Great take.
It's just
amazing take.
Every song and every movie that's ever existed are on my fucking iPhone.
Whoa.
Whoa, Jeremy, you haven't been here long enough to curse. 2 minutes. Get out of here.
Wow.
Get out of here. You're professional broadcaster.
Edit out the bleeps.
You're coming in You're coming up in the
I don't know who
business.
this kid is, but why is he speaking to me this way?
You're coming up in the business.
You thought that was a good idea.
The Heat don't like that. The Marlins
You were
don't
way
like
too
that.
comfortable, my friend. I don't like that.
You should have seen the jokes he was making the other day.
Ooh. Get your ass out.
Every song, though, in every movie.
Yeah.
What did he mean by that?
He hit me with I haven't been here for the week. Who the fuck is this kid?
Who the fuck is that guy?
Why is Jeremy Taché telling me I haven't been here for a week? I was doing lots of drugs, Jeremy, with very famous people.
Allegedly.
what, don't look at me for a month.
Jeremy wants to be executive producer, too.
What the hell is that?
He wants
Don't
to be-
look
he
at me
wants to
for
be-
a month.
What the hell is Jeremy Taché to speak to me like this?
He
I'll
wants
take
to-
it from Greg. You hit me with, and I know it, and I
Thank
knew
you.
it.
Bishop to Rook 9.
But what the hell was that from Jeremy?
Tony backed off, I noticed.
No,
real quick,
I didn't back
yeah.
off. I said, hey, wrestling's not for me.
Way
Not
too
my cup of
comfortable
tea.
there.
Billy,
That's not what you were saying
Mike,
before.
Earlier today, you asked
Todd, you weren't there.
Earlier
Mike.
today, Dan asked me how many people work in this building, and I can tell you with full certainty, one fewer one tomorrow.
Mike, you're unhinged and you're power hungry, and you're
I'm
not.
not. You
You're
are
knocking-
projecting
you're-
all of this
You're
on me.
knocking the microphone around. Billy and the back row felt like to me, wanted to mock all the wrestling things. You just kicked Jeremy out of here. Billy just accused Tony of immediately backing off.
Yeah.
They want.
I thought I was strong.
They have wrestling opinions.
Yeah, so I like the spectacle that is WrestleMania. It's
But
always
it's
on
fake,
Final
you know
Four,
that, right?
Yeah, geez, are we really gonna fucking do this thing?
I'm
Where-
just saying.
Uh-oh.
like,
No, we're
it's
really
fake.
no. Please explain it to me.
It's fake.
Okay, cool, good.
But, like,
good-
you like
good
it,
talk.
though.
How so?
But
Yeah.
you like it?
Yeah, I think it's it's a stunt show that's incredible feats of athleticism with storytelling, and it's just silly.
You know what
I
it
like
is?
to I like to have a drink with some friends and root on the dudes with tights as they do stunts throughout the air and shit that legitimately hurts, and they put their bodies on the line for entertainment. I mean, to me it's not unlike some other combat sports. There are certainly
not go
huge performative aspects to it. Oh no, you can like the thing?
No, it's not about the thing. I was
No,
just
you
gonna
can
say,
like the thing because
realized what it is
I'd
for me.
argue you also follow a fixed sport in combat sports.
Oh,
People were telling me that. People were telling me.
Bringing
I've seen
Congress-
plenty of
now
fights.
Congress has to get involved here. That's
Yeah.
crazy. What I was gonna say is what I realized while Mike
Odd
was
thing to
talking.
get sensitive over.
No, I'm just saying. I realized what it
No,
is.
both of you.
Is UFC fake now too since
No,
they
UFC's not
merged?
fake. Come on.
I just
Stop that.
asked the same company. How
If
do you
it-
know
Jeremy,
what's real,
get
what's
out of
not?
here.
Jeremy,
get
Jeremy,
out of
no,
here.
it's not 2 minutes. It's
Get
2
out of
months.
here, Jeremy.
Oh, wow.
It's I realized it. It's that when Mike was talking, I was like, oh man, this is kind of like the characters at a kid's birthday party. It makes me sad. That's what it is. Wrestling kind of makes me sad.
It can make you sad. It's cool. Like it's not for
It's like,
everybody.
oh, people believe this, and that makes me sad
no,
also.
No one believes it.
Nobody
Stugotz,
believes it?
I
kids
gotta.
believes it.
Forgive
Yeah,
me.
kids.
We will continue this conversation in a second. But Stugotz and I have both at the same time received a text at the same time. Stugotz,
It is Greg Cote.
it's a boner.
It's
Like,
a boner.
the guy's got a
It's
boner.
a full-fledged
it
boner.
is
It's not a
Is it a
Woody.
Woody?
It
Is
is
it
a
Woody?
full-fledged
It is a Woody.
boner.
Definitely
Okay?
a Woody.